My name's Rebecca. Tonight we're going to be making 3 different dishes: Mexican style rice, taco chicken, and homemade tortillas so that you can have an excellent taco night at home. First, we'll make the rice. We start with a hot saucepan, add about a tablespoon of olive oil. Let that heat up a little bit. And then we'll be adding 1 diced onion. It's a good idea to add salt in every step, so add a little bit of salt when you add each ingredient. The onions are going to cook until they're just a little bit brown, a little bit translucent, just a couple minutes. Next, we'll add 2 cloves of garlic that have already been chopped up small. Next, we're going to add all of our spices. I've measured them out already in a bowl. You have all the ingredients online. We'll also add a bit more oil. This time I'm using vegetable oil. It'll be about 2 more tablespoons. You'll also add your rice. We have 1 cup long grained rice. You want to stir it really well so everything is coated. And this is an important step. We're just going to let the rice brown a little bit. It's going to crisp up and really absorb the oil. While that's continuing to cook, I've already measured out our liquid. This is about 1½ cups of chicken stock and ½ cup of tomato sauce. Anytime you're cooking rice, you want roughly 2 parts liquid for 1 part rice. You can really smell the herbs as it's cooking now. The rice grains have started to just dry out a little bit. So I'm going to add all of the liquid. Oops. A little bit more salt. And again, stir it around. We want that whole mixture to come to a boil. And as soon as it comes to a boil, You'll turn down the heat as low as you can set it on your stove, put the top on, and let it cook. The idea with rice is you really want it to steam, so the less you touch it while it's cooking, the better. I'm turning it up just a little bit higher so it can come to a boil quickly. As that's heating up, I'll tell you about the next step we're going to be working on. This will be our pulled chicken. So before we started filming, I actually prepared some of this. I took chicken breasts and I just boiled them simply in water. And then we used 2 forks to pull them apart. So this is what the pulled chicken looks like, and I'll show you the method. Get 2 forks and really use them to go with the grain of the flesh and scrape. Use 1 fork to hold the breast down and the second to scrape it. I can hear our rice is starting to boil. It's just begun to come to a boil, so I'll put the top on, turn my burner down as low as it will go, and we'll set a timer for 15 minutes. It might take closer to 20, but we want to check it after 15. Anyway, I'll add that chicken in, and we'll start cooking the chicken with some seasonings. Again, I'll heat up a little bit of oil. Add our seasonings, which are prepared already in a bowl. And all of the pulled chicken. We want to give everything a really good stir to incorporate the spices and get them mixed in with the chicken. And I'll add some salt as well. You want to have this at about a medium to medium-high heat. And now we'll add our liquid ingredients. We have 2 tablespoons of tomato paste and 2 tablespoons of Hatch green chilies. These seem fierce, but they're actually quite mild, so don't be afraid to use them. We also have about a 1/4 cup of chicken stock. You could easily replace that with water if you didn't have any chicken stock. And just mix everything really thoroughly. I'll show you what it looks like. There's not very much liquid in there, and it'll start to evaporate as it comes to temperature. I'm going to to turn the heat down to low and just let that warm up while we make the last part of the meal. This is the most exciting part, if you ask me. I just recently went to Mexico and learned how to make tortillas by hand. We start with masa harina, masa flour. This is not just corn flour, this is corn that's been treated with lime. It's a special kind of corn flour. This is 1 cup of flour, and I'm adding 3/4 of a cup of warm water. Just warm from the tap, not hot. I'm going to mix it thoroughly with a fork. And you can see it absorbs the water very quickly. It very quickly becomes almost like a dough. It absorbs the flour and holds together. Once it's pretty well mixed with a fork, you can switch to using your hands. And get ready for the tortilla press if you have one. This is a wooden tortilla press. You also commonly see cast iron presses available. And I'll also show you how to just make them by hand if you don't have a tortilla press at home. Before I start making the tortillas, I'm going to heat my pan. This is a wide, very thin metal pan which will get very hot. I'm going to stir my chicken before we forget about it. So this press is, again, made of wood, and to keep the tortilla from sticking, we use 2 layers of plastic wrap or plastic bags. So you're gonna go back to your dough and fully incorporate it with your hands. It should be about the texture of Play-Doh. If it's a little too crumbly, then you're gonna add more water. If it's sticky, then you'll add more flour. This is at a good texture right now. It's not sticking to my fingers at all, and it holds together in a ball. Okay, our dough is ready to go. Our tortilla press has plastic lining on both sides. You pinch off a small ball, roll it around in your hands. It should be about the size of a golf ball or a walnut maybe. Place it in the middle of the tortilla press. We'll press down once, flip it over, and press it a second time. There's a nice trick to get it off the plastic. You peel one layer off, flip it over, and peel the second layer off. Now for the tricky part is getting it on the pan. Gently lay it on your hand and flip it onto the pan. You want your pan to be pretty hot, and the tortilla will start cooking right away. You want to look for the sides to curl up, and that's a good indication it's time to flip it. Meanwhile, our rice is just about done, so I'm going to check and see how much liquid is left. There's still a fair amount. We'll give it a couple more minutes. The tortilla has started to steam away. The edges are just curling up a little bit, So very gently with your fingertips, you slide it over, flip it. You can let it cook on that second side, and meanwhile, start making the next tortilla. So I'll make a couple more in the press, and then I'll show you how to make it by hand. Put your weight into it and really push it down hard. I'm going to flip this a second time, and you'll see it start to fill up with air and get a little puffy. If you enjoy making your own tortillas, it's also a good idea to invest in a tortilla warmer. They really make a big difference. So it started to puff up almost like a pillow. Flip it over one more time and it'll puff up on the other side. And when it's just reached the top of puffing, that's when it's about done. You want it to still be pretty soft. Pull it off, put it in your tortilla warmer. If you find that the tortillas are sticking to the plastic wrap, your dough is just a little bit too wet. You can add a little bit more of the masa until it doesn't stick anymore. Here we go again. Now I'll show you some technique for making tortillas if you don't have a tortilla press. So you're going to grab a slightly smaller ball, maybe like a large marble. And again, make it into a ball size, and then using the palm of your hand, smoosh it down until it's a little flat, and then use the palms to rotate it around, back and forth, and spinning the tortilla as you go. When it gets a little too big for your palms, switch to the tips of your fingers and do the same thing again. Hold on, I'm going to flip that first tortilla. So here you can see the edges are starting to form a less even edge. That's a sign our dough is a little bit too dry, but it's also bound to happen when you do them by hand. The handmade ones are going to come out a little thicker than the pressed ones, but they're still delicious. So this is about the size I can do with my hands. If you have larger hands, you can probably make a larger tortilla. And if you decide it's no good, just crumple it up and start again. If your dough is feeling a little bit dry, it's nice to have just a finger bowl of water nearby. That's all you need to moisten the dough. Just dip your fingers in a little bit of water and then get back to it. So again, I'm using the palms of my hands, getting a nice thick round disc, and then switch it to my fingertips. So you can see with a little bit more water, we have a nice round edge to the tortilla. And rather than cook it immediately, I'm going to put it to the side. I just have a plate with some plastic. That second tortilla is done. I'm going to give my rice a quick stir again. The water is nearly all absorbed, and the bottom is crusting over just a little bit, which is actually really delicious. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off and let the rest of the water absorb while it's steaming. You cook these handmade tortillas in the same way as the pressed tortillas. They just may take a little bit longer since they're thicker. While that's cooking, I'm going to make one more in the press. Ball size. Press. We'll flip that handmade tortilla. And there you have it. That's how to make delicious homemade tortillas, which will really step up your taco night. Now I'll show you how to put it all together. If you don't want to make your own tortillas, I recommend any store-bought corn tortillas, which you can heat up on a pan on the stove or in a microwave with a wet paper towel. Here's our final dishes: the Mexican rice and our homemade tortillas with pulled chicken, and then any topping you prefer. I've added fresh cilantro and cotija cheese. This is a Mexican cheese that's very crumbly and salty. All the ingredients I've cooked with tonight are available for purchase at the Honest Weight Food Co-op, and the recipe cards are available online. Thank you for shopping and for watching this video. My name's Rebecca. Enjoy Taco Tuesday.